Say hello to my 18-year-old PC. It's extremely slow, incredibly loud, and worth only $15 today. Most people would throw this in the trash, but I wanted to see what would happen if I paid a professional PC tweaker to optimize my PC. Will I get any more FPS, or will I get completely scammed? Let's find out. But there's just one thing. Calling it an 18-year-old PC actually makes it sound better than it really is. This 2007 HP computer has an AMD Athlon 4200 Plus dual-core CPU, 4GB of DDR2 RAM, and an NVIDIA GeForce 6150 LE, which by the way is 20 times slower than the already terrible GT710. And as someone who used the GT710 for years, I couldn't imagine a GPU 20 times slower than this. On this PC, something as simple as opening the settings app gives me enough time to make food, eat it, poop it out, and come back. And it's still loading. When it comes to gaming, it can't. Just to get this thing to even boot into a game, I had to connect my RX 550X. Now you would think that this would be an upgrade, but it really isn't. First off, it's constantly running at just 9 degrees below the boiling point of water, and mind you, this is without anything happening on screen. Usually I joke about my GPU burning my house down because it runs so hot, but this time, if the temperature goes any higher, this card might literally die. So to avoid that, I had to lower the power limit, tanking our performance. But that's actually the least of our problems. The Athlon CPU is so slow that it makes my GPU perform like a GT210 anyway. So even though it's literally over 100 times faster than the integrated graphics, we don't gain 100 times more FPS because the 550X is so heavily CPU bottlenecked. Now that we know what we're working with, let's see what kind of FPS we're starting with so we can see how much or how little it improves at the end of the video. In Tomb Raider Anniversary, a game released 2 years before this PC came out, it can do a solid 74 FPS at 1080p. Until we move the camera. That's when the CPU starts shitting itself. Hopefully we can fix that by the end. But if you thought that was bad, wait until you see the sequel. Tomb Raider Legend, released just 1 year before this PC came out, runs at an amazing 15 FPS. And for the final game we're testing, Tomb Raider 2013 might be a little too much for this desktop to handle. It crashed at 720p, but we managed to get 34.5 FPS at 600p on normal settings. Still terrible, but the fact that we can open one of the most demanding games of 2013 still surprises me. Now that we know how much FPS this thing gets without optimizations, it's time to hire someone to optimize my PC. And what better place to hire a pro PC tweaker than Fiverr? Yeah, this might actually be the worst place to do this challenge. There's a goofy trend where people label themselves as support engineers or IT managers or something that sounds super legit. But support engineers and IT operations engineers are just glorified tech support workers. I'm talking to you, Shaq Jordan, and you too, Shaq Jordan. Why is everyone named Shaq Jordan? Jokes aside, with so many people to choose from, all with years of experience, finding the right person for this job was not easy. First, I got banned off of Fiverr. Twice. Apparently, you can't just copy-paste the same message to 74 different people. Fair enough. After figuring out how to not get banned within 4 seconds of creating an account, I ran into another problem. Finding someone who was willing to fix my $15 PC for $15 was impossible. Nobody wanted to be anywhere near this thing. This goober said he was available to optimize my PC, but the second I told him the specs, he said we'd love to work on your project, but right now we are full. You just said you were available 6 minutes ago. Did 85 people place an order in the last 6 minutes? Then I messaged a walking red flag. I didn't even ask him to do anything yet, and he immediately asked for my remote address to steal my info or something. Apparently he has basic language skills in every language that exists. You know, normal people have a native language and maybe a couple fluent ones, but nah. This dude only knows how to say please share your remote address in 45 different languages. But after hours of rejection, I finally found someone who was willing to optimize my garbage PC for a reasonable price. Let's call him Bob. After reading my PC specs and knowing this thing isn't worth more than $20, Bob hit me with a $60 offer. I literally own decent GPUs that cost half of what Bob wanted for his goofy optimizations. So instead, I bought his basic Windows optimization pack, which includes debloating, input delay tweaks, and driver tweaks for $15. That would be an absolute steal if he actually delivered. But this is Fiverr, so at most, Bob's going to do the bare minimum. Once the payment went through, he sent me a Zoom link, and to be fair, he was pretty chill. Up until I asked him this next question, because at this point I knew things were gonna start going downhill fast. What's the slowest PC you like ever worked on? Like for Fiverr?
No, never slow. This is probably, I'm sorry to say,
This is the slowest one?
I only take like orders on weekends, and I take specific orders that are worth my time.
So not only was this slower than what he's used to working with, but he believes that optimizing PCs as slow as mine is not worth his time. But just a few seconds in, I could already tell this was going to be complete ass, even for $15. As I said, people on Fiverr usually do the bare minimum, especially with basic PC tweaking. And Bob here is no different. Like any other pro PC tweaker, he assumes the buyer knows absolutely nothing about computers. What he doesn't know is that I've been making optimization tutorials for almost a year now, and I was watching what he was doing very closely. He cleared my temporary files, storage, set my desktop to dark mode, disabled transparency effects, startup apps, safe search, privacy options, notifications, and that was it for Windows settings. Even my own 10-minute optimization guide does more than that for $0. But I'm not here to talk about myself, so I let him cook. Next, he opened PowerShell, and of course this was to open the Chris Titus debloat utility, and that was it. He was done. In 1 hour, we half-assed a few Windows optimizations and didn't even touch the drivers or input delay tweaks. Maybe I should have told him I knew a thing or two about PC tweaking, but I think he was just hoping that I wouldn't notice how little he actually did. Now you might be wondering how it took him a whole hour just to do 8 things. But again, my PC is straight doo-doo. Everything takes forever. On top of that, my GPU kept crashing and I had to spend 15 minutes fixing it myself during the call. So just like that, I wasted about 20 minutes. But I wasn't the only one to blame. He dipped for 5 minutes mid-session to go plan something with his girlfriend, because obviously that couldn't wait. Now to be fair, in those 5 minutes, all I did was run the Chris Titus debloat tool, but the fact that I had to do it myself sounds kinda messed up. I paid you to optimize my PC. If I wanted someone to give me PC tweaking advice, I would just ask ChatGPT, or even just watch a YouTube video. I wouldn't pay a guy $22 for him to tell me to do the work. Even with all that, he still had a solid 35 minutes of work time and only managed 8 basic tweaks. So yeah, not exactly what I'd call professional. But maybe I'm wrong, maybe I missed something and he secretly turned my PC into a beast. So that brings us back to the question from the beginning. Did I get any more FPS or did I get completely scammed? Let's start with the best result, Tomb Raider Legend, which I didn't expect to actually see a performance boost in. In this 2006 game, we went from just 15 FPS to about 30, which genuinely shocked me. We're getting more FPS while turning the camera than we used to standing still. But I started with the second game for a reason, because the other two didn't turn out so good. Tomb Raider Anniversary only saw a 1 FPS increase. And in Tomb Raider 2013, it actually got worse, dropping from about 34 FPS to 28.1. An 18.6% decrease in average frame rate. As for the frame rate lows, we went from 13.6 to exactly 20 FPS, which technically makes the game 47% more consistent, and I could definitely see that. There was less stuttering, but it's still not worth dropping under 30 FPS, what I'd consider the bare minimum for this game to be playable. So one game improved, one barely changed, and one somehow got worse. So in the end, I got scammed out of $15. I think I'm gonna stick to optimizing my PC by myself. But if you enjoyed this video, watch this video next where I tried TikTok PC hacks until I got 1000 FPS in Fortnite.